I think that being positive and having a positive mindset is a choice that everybody has and is a choice that people have that they can tap into at any given point, no matter what their circumstances are. And I think that being able to tap into a positive way of looking at things transforms so much of our lives internally, in our mind, but also our health as well. I think the power of positivity is probably like one of the most impactful things that you can do for yourself and the people around you, because it's abundantly clear when you meet people if they are living in a state of like victim mentality or feeling negatively about their circumstances and falling a victim to their circumstances against somebody who you meet that is choosing, because it is a choice, but is choosing to look at things still positively, or seeing what that situation could be showing them or teaching them, or what they can get out of it, or what they can help other people through because of it. And I think that if anything, if you're going through something that's so challenging and is a really horrible and potentially traumatic situation, then if nothing else, you can be seeing it as something that is trying to show you how precious life is and how precious time is. So then looking at it from the positive perspective of that will be like, okay, how do I want to spend my time? Who's important to me? What am I going to do more of? Who am I going to see more of? And it's teaching you to make the absolute most out of the time that we've got. Because in contrast to that, if we're falling victim to our circumstances and dwelling in almost like a negativity based on your circumstances, all we're actually doing is wasting time, because we are using all of our energy to basically feel negatively. Negativity and resentment or any kind of like bitterness or feeling a victim is actually the most draining emotion. I truly believe that feeling positively and choosing to see things in just a positive state of mind takes less energy. I think that once you can really train your brain to look at things that way, you use way less energy, therefore you've got more to be able to spend time doing things that you love doing. But if you're not doing that, we are just wasting time, because then it becomes natural to then be wanting to just stay at home all day or stay in bed all day or not get up and do the things that you love, because you're just sitting in that feeling of just that negative. It's almost like you're walking through thick mud, and it doesn't have to be like that. I think it's conquering your mind and saying to yourself from the minute that you wake up that no matter what happens, today is going to be a good day. It doesn't mean that difficult things don't come up. I think it just means that you are more resilient for when things come up, to either deal with them, process them more quickly, and be able to then go back to a higher state of being, a higher vibration. Or it means that you, again, see what you can take from it. Or you almost do learn how to coexist with the two. So when something bad comes up, you can acknowledge and be honest with the fact that something is really so difficult, but you can coexist that with the permission to still feel good. And that coexisting of the emotions, I think, is probably the biggest thing to give yourself permission of, because you're allowed to, and I think it comes down to just like knowing yourself and communication with people and honesty with yourself and others, to admit that something is so difficult, but you're not going to let that define you. Because something can be so difficult, but you don't have to let that define you. And I think that sometimes it can be easy to fall into the trap of going through something that's a negative experience in life, and I can use the example of my cancer diagnosis. It was the most traumatic experience that I have been through to date, maybe potentially will ever go through. And it was so difficult. And I think that we hear so many negative stories about these kind of situations in life, whether it be a diagnosis or a breakup or divorce or loss or, you know, financial situations or health, anything really. All we hear about more so is the negative stories of it. And I think we then almost feel as though we have to embody the stereotypical emotion associated with it. So then we go through life embodying that and saying like, this is a negative thing that's happening to me, so I'm going to feel negatively about it, and I'm not going to look at it in a different way. But it doesn't have to be that way, because it can be teaching you things, it can be showing you things. And like I said before, if nothing else, it's showing you life and how fragile life is and how precious life is. So we should be making the most of that time. But I do think that it comes down to training our mind to give us the permission to do that. But also just learning that our mental state is the biggest battle. Our life is going to reflect what we're telling ourselves inside. So if we are, like I said, waking up and we're saying to ourselves, today will be a good day, we are then naturally going to see more of what we want to see. So when you decide to wake up and say to yourself, today is going to be a good day, we are going to notice all of the good things that are happening around us. And I think that this probably comes down to also how powerful gratitude is. And I feel like when I did a 28-day gratitude practice recently, it completely transformed me. Finding 10 things a day that I wrote down that I was grateful for meant that I was noticing so much more of the little things. And I think that after the first day, when you write down the biggest things that you're grateful for, so whether that be the roof over your head or the car that you drive or that you've got food or anything, all of the obvious things, you then start to think, oh my God, this is really difficult to think of 10 things a day that I'm grateful for, because 10 different things haven't happened in my life today outside of the normal. But then you realise that the beauty is actually in those smaller things. So I was starting to notice that I was grateful for the flowers I was seeing, or the sun being out, or the coffee that I bought from the shop. Anything, they were the smallest things, but noticing them and writing them down meant that I was seeing them more often, because your external reality is a complete reflection of your internal. So then naturally, if you're feeling negatively about something, then you're just going to be attracting and noticing more of the negative things around you, which is obviously just then a vicious cycle, because you're never going to be able to get out of that. But to train your brain to wake up and be like, today will be a good day, let's notice all of the good things happening around us, you just raise your vibration and feel so much happier. And I think that I honestly, genuinely believe that this can be something that is tapped into no matter the circumstances. And I think that you can talk to people who are facing the most difficult circumstances. And to be honest, I've spoken to people who actually are facing times in their lives where they don't have much longer of their life left to go, and they are still able to appreciate life. And it's so powerful. It's a contagious feeling when you're talking to somebody who is in that position and is still making the most of that and is still choosing to see life in that way, because they have really taken on board the fact that they want to make the most out of life. There is so much out there to make the most of. And I think that actually, when you do look at it from that viewpoint, you naturally take more risks, or you naturally spend more time doing what you love doing, spending more time with people that you care about, or really thinking to yourself, what energizes me? What do I want to see more of in life? And then you embody that. And it's a strength to be able to do that. But I think that once you crack that code and you can master your mentality and really decide that, like, I just think that the whole world around you transforms. And it's not something that only benefits you, it really benefits everybody around you as well, because energy is contagious, and you can spend time with anybody who's in that lower vibration, and it completely zaps your energy and you leave feeling so drained. And it shows you that it can heal the people around you just as much as it can heal you when you are in that vibration. And then naturally you're having a more enjoyable time with people around you. It's easier to spend time around people. So it isn't just healing for you, it's healing for the people around you, and then it's healing for everybody. Like if everybody kind of was able to really tap into that and to, I guess, raise their vibration to be able to see it, like, we would be just doing, I guess, so much service for every single person. But it is a challenge, and I think that it doesn't have to be perfect every day. Like, there is definitely some days where I feel sad or I feel upset about what's going on. But I think the beauty of it is you become more resilient, and your brain becomes more resilient for it. So if something does come your way that does upset you, or you do feel sad or is unfair, I think that you can more quickly process it, deal with it, acknowledge the feelings, because this isn't ever to say positivity isn't. There's a difference between toxic positivity and pretending everything's fine, because that comes from a place of just not being authentic to yourself, not actually being honest with yourself about how you feel. It's almost like brushing stuff aside, not wanting to speak about it. And that's not the positivity that I mean. This positivity that I mean is being able to sit there in that feeling and go, what's happening is really rubbish, but it won't define me, and I'm still going to be able to see the beauty in life surrounding it. I'm going to embody all of the things that I still feel positively about, things that I feel passionately about, and just live your life in more of a playful way, but never to brush things aside, because that's when things can build up, and generally I feel as though that kind of then leads to, I guess, more of a downfall, because you've spent so long brushing things aside without acknowledging them. But there's literally no harm in giving yourself that permission to sit there and accept that something that you're facing is really challenging, but wanting to bask in the joy of life still, the playfulness of life, the beauty of life, the beauty of love, positivity, hope, because I think that realistic hope, no matter what you're facing, is also a guiding light to be able to get through that period of time. There's hope in, I guess, so many things, and keeping that level of, I guess, hope, faith, trust in life and the unfolding of life, and knowing that if nothing else, it's really showing us that we just need to make the most of every minute that we've got, and being able to look at the big picture rather than spending so long dwelling in the minute by minute when things are feeling hard. Actually take a step back, take a moment to take a step back and look at the big picture of what it's showing you, and then learning what then is important to you and embodying more of that and enjoying more of that. And I just think that's really important. And I think that we would all live a much happier life if we could tap into that, and also help others tap into that too, and really be a light for others to help other people do that, because some people find it so challenging to get out of that emotion. But I think if we can be that light, we can help everybody overall.